Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast here with Benji as always for what I thought was going to be a boring breakaway stage. So boring, in fact, that we forgot it existed on the rest day recap yesterday. But we previewed it in full on the full Vuelta preview. It was 190 Ks long, 191 Ks, rolly flat, no categorized climbs. One climb in the day, the Puerto de Almacar, 10 Ks at 5%. The most fake news climb you've ever seen. It's literally 2 descents in this thing. And then the real climb is actually like 4Ks at 8%, 4.5 Ks at 9%. Descent, technical descent, dusty, like a properly technical descent for 15, 16 Ks into the finish. So nothing on GC offer, one would think, which is why a breakaway and a large one would eventually form once we got the coverage. This show is supported by Le Col as usual. And I think we thought someone like Michael Matthews or Magnus Cort might be the only people who would choose to pace if they were not caught in a move. But Benji, when live coverage did start, what vision were we presented with?
Well, we actually were presented with a breakaway already, and there's a lot that happened before that breakaway formed off camera. We had lots of attacks, 50k an hour average for the first hour and a half, so that's a crazy tempo. Then again, slight tailwind, so that could help with that average speed. Nonetheless, the likes of a Carapaz had tried to go in the breakaway and so forth, but eventually did not succeed. We had a breakaway of roughly 30 people. I don't know the exact count, but the most notable names were Storr in the breakaway once again with 2 teammates for DSM. We had Christian Odd Eiking, Guillaume Martin, Magnus Cort Nielsen once again, Narvaeza van Baarle for INEOS. We had Schackman with a teammate for Bora, Aramburu with Sanchez, Champoussin with Bouchard for Agezer, and Bajoli and Van Sevenant for De Koning. Well, sure, there's a few other names in there, but I'm not going to name every single rider in this breakaway. And, I think Elisson and Rui Oliveira were also in there, but we had in the Peloton just Jumbo pacing at a speed where they wanted to give the jersey away, because in GC they had Eiking and Guillaume Martin with 9 minutes roughly and 9 minutes 36 or something behind, and Eiking would take the jersey if they both reach the finish line with more than 9 minutes. So that was a curious battle from that point onwards, because you'd know that Eiking and Guillaume Martin would be looking at each other in the final stretch of this race to see if Jumbo allows enough of a gap for this breakaway, who could take the jersey. And that was the case. Jumbo doesn't care about the red jersey. We've known it already during this Grand Tour. And that was again today, and we would see that on the final climb. But I think the first action, the breakaway, happened just before the last climb, right, with Oliveira going on a bit of a solo move.
Which is kind of surprising because he's fast, Benji. Or I always get the two confused, which I feel bad about.
Pretty confused. Nelson's also somewhere out there.
Nah, the UAE Oliveira's. I swear. Anyway, I thought he was quite fast. I'm like, oh, why are you getting the move? Same with Aaron Baru, Benji. He starts going with the move on before the real climb starts. And I'm like, no. Stop. Like, it's not, you're burning your matches, and the real action is going to be on this final climb, which has steep 12% pinches. You need to be a good climber. It became very, very apparent to make a difference on this climb or conserve the legs.
I think that their attempt for the move is that they know they can't climb with the rest, because Aramburu's climbing is clearly overrated. And
you're the problem.
That's not true.
You're the problem.
I said this morning that he would in no way get over this bloody climb with the people in that breakaway. And therefore they try and get a bit of a gap before the climb starts, a bit of an advantage.
It makes sense.
The problem there is that they tried it too close to the climb. If you try it just before these steeper sections start, a few kilometers before that, you've got a few kilometers to make a gap. If you try it 20k before that, you might get an opportunity of gaining 40 seconds with some cooperation problems in the second group. But there's too many teammates, I think, for
that. That's what I was going to say.
To work out. So, yeah, I doubt that would have worked. Anyway, on the climb, we decided to unleash their demons.
Well, we saw DSM sitting in. Aronson wasn't looking too good. And as Benji said, multiple teams brought it back for them with, EF, we saw the pink jerseys at the front clawing it back. And to be honest, from the break, this played out pretty simply. One rider was a class above. He's already won a stage at this Vuelta. He's on magnificent legs. I'd even like to see him how he would have gone in the GC group, the way he's riding on this climb. And Storr just legit put it up 3 gears, kept his cadence in the saddle and just rode away from, I think, Champoussin, Bouchard maybe. Kenny Lasson had been active. And the other two guys who are probably in good shape, who are like Old Christian Eiking and Guillaume Martin, no interest in the stage win. Guillaume Martin was like 29 seconds or 19 seconds behind Old Christian Eiking on GC, so the red jersey is available for them. And that almost takes out two strong guys from Stora's competition. They refused to pull after him. It's actually Australian on Australian violence. Nick Schultz, the bike exchange rider, chasing Stora. But yeah, Nick Schultz is very strong as well on the climb. But yeah, I thought he got out a 30, 35 second gap. And I was like, if he is not completely terrible at descending, that should be a wrap, because the group behind are going to be dysfunctional. There's no wrong with multiple teammates, technical descent. They're not going to be, they've already spent a lot on the climb. So at what point were you like, this is a wrap? It's all over for Stora, Benji.
Well, I think when he had a gap of a solid 20 seconds, and you have the second group where Martin and Eiking are going to close each other every single time. So that won't work out. Everybody else in that group already had shot at least once. And I think it was Champoussin that tried once again with another move at some point and gained a bit of a gap on the others. But yeah, you'd know that likely Stora is a mile above the rest here and is cruising to victory unless something happens in the descent. And Stora crosses the top, and the first few corners, I had a feeling it wasn't overly comfortable.
It reminds me of some descents on the Sunshine Coast. Where
some descents.
Like the Montville descent, it's not so bad really the majority of the time, but the first two, or the one off Tommel, and a couple at the top are tight. And there's dust on the road as well. And he looked okay, and then it went out to 50 seconds, which meant the group wasn't working behind. So we've scooted through. Stora wins the stage. That's okay. We wrapped up the stage win. I like, geez, Benji and I are going to have a boring pod. We got the Peloton. We saw glimpses of Movistar just going to the front, 13 minutes behind. Odd Christian Eiking's been marking Guillaume Martin. He'll take the jersey. I'm like, it's going to be super boring. Before we get into the complete chaos that unfolded on what was going to be a complete nothing stage, a word on our show partner, Lecole, who produced performance cycling apparel. If you want custom kits made at the base of Monte Grappa, designed by Lecole, worn by Dropped Lecole, then you can check out Lecole's custom kits at www.lecolecc, available around the world. We also have an LR Vuelta 20, that's LR Vuelta 20, all caps, discount code for all Lecole items, including already discounted items. So thanks to Lecole for supporting the podcast, and you can check their kit out through the link below. Benji, I saw Movistar pacing, not concerned. Normal stuff, just staying in front of the climb, whatever. Saw INEOS doing a little bit. INEOS seem to be bringing the gap back. I just thought they were just trying to, I think they were doing the INEOS bluff. That's what it was. They were doing the INEOS bluff, don't do anything, we're fine, when it really wasn't all fine. Or do you see something else? Were they trying to get red back for Roglič?
Actually, I thought they would try something desperate, in the same way that in the Tour de France 2020 you had a Lyon stage with a small hill where Søren Andersen eventually won the stage, and Bernal went pure desperate and decided to attack on one of those tiny hills. And it wouldn't have surprised me if they thought Roglič ain't going to do anything today. We'll just set tempo and we'll go for a sneaky attack at the top and see if that goes anywhere. I was expecting such a desperate move, and that was not the case because someone else decided to do it instead.
Mate, Primoz Roglič, I don't know what's going on. This team and Roglič have been riding without any care for the red jersey, with no care for bonus seconds for the entire week. Roglič attacks on the climb, maybe definitely sensing weakness in INEOS. It's his initial surge, very strong on this climb. It's at the base of the steeper section. He's still got like 3-4 Ks to go on this climb. It reminds me a lot of Cheruble, the climb there where he attacked early on the steeper section, then he had to maintain it for 3 Ks. Mas, Lopez are trying to follow. Haig's there. Kuss is on their wheel, and Bernal just can't respond. Yates is, I don't know where Yates is, Benji. He's like gone out the back. Bernal's trying, and you see him cracking in no man's land. It's like reminds me of Puy-Marie. He's just not good at these this distant steep climb. Just Roglič always has it over him. Haig is getting a free sit on the Movistar guys. Enrique sitting behind him, and then Lopez finishes his pull, and Haig's like, nope. Mas, you're second on GC. This is your responsibility. So he's getting, free ride is pretty steep. what's the Roglič? The Roglič? It's a new word for logic and Roglič. What's the logic behind this Roglič attack, Benji? Bearing in mind it's a descent finish, a technical descent finish, not finishing on top of the climb.
I think the logic that they used for this, or at least Roglič used for this, is that the gap to the breakaway is enough, 12 minutes 40 or something, at the point of the attack, making sure that even if he attacks, he won't take the red jersey, so it's not a risk for taking back the red jersey. The problem is, this is a great idea if the finish of the stage is at the top of this climb, because then you don't have risks in descents, and you were the first one to tell me, just after he attacked, why is he doing this? There is a descent coming. This is extremely risky, and that is indeed the case. And the extra factor to that is, why does he do this on this stage with a descent after the climb, while he could have just done it on stage 7, where he would also take the red jersey and decided not to attack, while he could also take 20 seconds on its competition. And he decides to do it today instead. And perhaps it's indeed smelling weakness at the competition, but I saw a lot of weakness on stage 7 as well from the competition. So
and stage
I don't
3.
know. 7. Sorry.
All of them. No, stage 7 and 3. I saw weakness.
Yeah.
We have mountaintop finishes where he's in the headwind and he's been sitting in and he can just do his patented 30, 45 second surge and take time. He didn't. They literally, stage 3 pick on Blanco mountaintop finish.
I think stage 3, the reason is that he wanted to make sure the jersey was not his. And on stage 7, it was his at the end of the day anyway. So
yeah, we didn't understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the moment where he could have done that less risky as today. And, the future would indeed tell today.
Stage 6, they didn't care about the bonus seconds available. He's like, he didn't let Cort win in the last 200 meters, in my view, but they created the race scenario where they didn't care the Cort, and it enabled Cort to win by literally never pacing on the flat or helping bike exchange. So they've not cared about any marginal seconds. And he's going over the top of this climb with 20 seconds, because this is what happened with Cherublet. He gets that gap and then it starts to claw back, even on the climb, as he sort of runs out of steam. The burst no one can respond to, but then they're clawing it back. Lopez Massa relaying behind on this false ridgeline section. It's down to 19 seconds, 17 seconds, 15 seconds, 13 seconds. So he's going to be caught anyway. And I'm so reluctant to criticize Roglič attacking early, because it's criticized for being too boring and never attacking. But this didn't make sense in the context of safe ways to take 10 to 12 seconds, because you're never taking a minute here, ever. You're never taking big time here. Get onto the descent. He starts railing it on the descent because he's only 12 seconds ahead. The group behind are going to work together. You saw with Jonas Vingegaard on Ventoux stage, 40 seconds, that went like that because the group is going to relay, take more risks. So if he wants to keep the gap on this technical descent, he has to take a lot of risks. Dan Lloyd is like, oh, I don't know about this. Live on commentary, next minute turnaround, Roglič is in the gutter. In the gravel section, he slid out, his bike's bucked in the crack on the road, slid out dust, I don't know. And he's lucky, Benji. Honestly, I was like, you got very, very lucky there, right?
Yeah, certainly. It could have been much worse. And he got up quickly, and he got up and eventually landed in the group that was behind him. Now, I think if you're the Diaz and Jumbo in that situation, you got to think about the risks. And if you're at the top with 12, 15 seconds with Roglič at the front, I think a move would be telling Roglič, wait for the group with Movistar and sit on, because Lopez is going to pace anyway. And then the gap that you made on Bernal, who is 38 seconds or so behind at that point, and Yates 45, 50 seconds behind, that's going to keep going. And then you have created a situation where you gained time and you didn't apply a crazy risk into the descent. And I think that would have been a more wise decision than hammering on with only 12 seconds in the descent, personally.
It just seems so at odds with the Jumbo-Visma strategy, the way they've ridden the first 9 stages, just completely incongruous with that, to then be like, yep, it's worth risking the whole Vuelta attacking to gain 7 seconds on the descent, because I think they were going to catch him without the crash. They were relaying as a flatter section. They were probably going to catch him anyway. At most, he takes, no bonus seconds, at most he takes 5 to 7 seconds. Now, I get it, he wanted to kill INEOS, but Benji just made the point. You have, you're putting time into them, and then you can just wait for, the gap was never big enough to the Movistar guys. So what did you see from INEOS, Benji? Are you sensing a Bernal DNF announcement? This is what we've seen when he has been losing time in previous Grand Tours, or I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with them because they're not on it.
Well, it's very difficult to say, oh, he's going to DNF already. He hasn't had a stage like the one in the Tour de France where he lost, 7 minutes on a day. So that is not the case yet. But he is losing time here significantly. I think after the stage here, because the gap kept on going and he eventually would lose time on today's stage, by the way. Just want to tell that. He would be losing time and would be on 4 minutes 46 of the leader, which is one from the breakaway, Cristiano Dijking, because he stayed ahead of Guillaume Martin. But on Roglič, he's now on 2 minutes 30, and then you know that you're losing time already. And sure, it's not the end of the world and so forth, but this hurts. And I think that in total, this is it's not looking good for INEOS in general. And it also weakens the standpoint of Adam Yates being leader if he has inconsistent days like today. And that was a bit of my worry. I was expecting it more in week 3, but he couldn't follow today on this climb. So that's a bit odd because I would have said that Yates would fit more for this kind of climb.
Here's the revised GC. Speaking of odd, Benji shouted him out the other day, the man from his team threw away Arctic Race of Norway GC. Odd Christian Eiking. He goes into the red jersey as Jumbo-Visma drew it up, 58 seconds ahead of Guillaume Martin. Roglič keeps, I guess, his lead on the main GC contenders at 2:17. I'm now trying to do quick maths to calculate the gaps. 28 seconds still to Mas. All the same gaps to Lopez, Haig, and the same gaps to Haig. So that's all the same. Bernal loses more time to that group. So Bernal is now on about 47 seconds to Haig. Yates is on over a minute to Haig. So I think Haig got the best ride today, Benji, because he's got 2 Movistar riders. He never has to pull with them. Then on the descent again, he's never going to care about Roglič. He's going for podium probably. And yeah, he's just being brought further away from the INEOS guys behind him.
Yeah, you certainly can't complain. And he's in a perfect situation. You've got Roglič attacking. You've got Roglič deleting half of his competition for the podium a bit on today's stage. And he has Roglič that causes Lopez to pace for him in the second group. Lopez crashes and eventually lands in the group. Roglič crashes, and he lands in the group of Lopez. And Lopez, of course, has to keep on pacing because INEOS is still behind. So at no point was Haig really needed to pace himself, unless a bit at the end of the climb, just because Lopez can't do everything himself, of course. And at a certain point, Lopez seems like he was about to drop for a bit. Mas took over for a bit, and eventually Lopez came back to the front. So at that point, Haig helped a bit. But for the rest, bit of a free ride for Haig. And sure, it's still going to cost him energy, but it's going to cost him less energy than what I saw Lopez do today. And that is going to potentially play into the third spot or second spot in GC. Let's say that Lopez versus Haig becomes a battle for third spot. And Lopez is spending a lot of energy protecting and helping Mas get to Roglič. And that might play into the cards of Haig getting that podium.
Okay, so stages to come. We thought there wouldn't be big GC shakeups this week. Tomorrow's stage was the one we were like, this is where Roglič should try and take a free 5 or 7 seconds because it finishes uphill, 134 Ks, and it's a short punch to the line. Yeah, I thought this one would have been the one.
One thing is certain.
What?
Like, sorry that I'm kicking in, but one thing is certain. After today, Roglič will certainly say tomorrow, oh, fuck it, break wins. Like, I don't know if he's going to try it again, even if it's like on the last section here.
Mate, I've given up. I've given up trying to. I don't even think surely it wasn't Jumbo's plan. Surely they didn't, in the team bus this morning, decide that was the plan for him to do that on the descent. To go, like, considering all that's happened this year, considering he's in the most dominant position. His TT, like Mas and Lopez, they're not going to beat him in the TT. I don't understand it.
Yeah, and let's be real, like, throughout the last couple of years, his crash probability is higher than his competition, and unless it's Thomas and Port, of course, but it's higher than his competition, so you don't want to look for risks with Roglič. You want to try and keep it as simple as possible and take the gaps where you can take it, and that is mostly on uphill finishes, and I'm saying it, we said it on stage 7, not taking time today could play out badly in the future, and then he tries it today instead, which just doesn't make much sense to me.
I know, and we were always looking for short, uphill, steep finishes, which suit him so much more compared to the likes of Bernal and Mas usually. Tomorrow's stage are very, very rolly, like a lot of 6K, 6Ks 5.5%, 3Ks 5.5%, 6Ks at 5%. So Break should be able to establish in the first 40, 50 kilometers. Took a while today. Puerto de Locobion, 8Ks, 8.5Ks at 5%. There's a descent in the middle of it as usual. Bonus seconds on top, but we think probably Break. Punch up to the line of 800 meters. He was in the break today with Mauri van Sevenant. I'd like to see him get in the break again tomorrow. Andrea Baggioli suits him a lot, Benji, and Magnus Cort. So I think we could see the same names in the break again tomorrow.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. And what I would love to see is what would happen if Iking tries to go in the breakaway? Because it would be so, come on, he has to try. Like, or Mankey's this time around, and they try and get 2 anti-riders in the top 10 that way.
Intermarché take over this whole Vuelta and they win 1, 2, 3 GC.
Minali and Fed at the end of week 2.
I don't know, maybe. What? Just quickly, I guess we haven't decided. Sorry, who's your pick for tomorrow? I'm going with Baggioli from the break.
Jesus Christ, I haven't thought about this at all, even though you were talking about this stage for like quite a while already. But who could go into this breakaway? Let me take a look at the GC and look at the riders that are currently sitting between the 10th and 20th position. And then I'd say I'd go for, I don't know, someone like JP Lopez, Polans.
JP Lopez, mate. He's
Remy
on
Rocha.
duty.
Remy Rocha, go for this. I don't know.
That's nice.
Something like that.
Aaron Baru.
Well, he didn't look too great today, but parkour tomorrow fits him on paper much better than today. So I think I had him for tomorrow in the initial preview. I have to stick with it. But I don't see it happening after today's performance.
Landa got dropped again today, so he's not looking in good shape at all. Quickly, I guess we didn't really...
Freile.
Yeah, anyone on Astana should be the same names in the break again tomorrow, in my view. Really,
Vlasov.
Yeah, Vlasov, I don't think so. He looked better today, I guess.
Yeah.
We didn't really discuss Benji, but Odd Christian Eiking and Guillaume Martin getting, I guess, a big 12-minute, 10-minute advantage on the riders on GC back into first and second. I have no expectation for them staying even in the top seven. I think they'll lose bucket loads on the later stages.
Yeah, we got to think about the fact that they're currently 2 minutes 17 ahead hiking. Martin is like a minute less than that ahead, so 1:17. If it was 7 minutes for both, I wouldn't even have cared because they lose half of that on the time trial and they're going to lose 3.5 minutes on the climbs as well. So they're far from being dangerous, but this might be dangerous for a 9th or 10th position in GC. But then again, a lot of other people between the 10th and 20th position might still go in the breakaway and go for a move. Ciccone today lost 4 spots. I think he had a bit of a breakdown on the hill today. So he's a candidate that I see attacking in the second or third week, most likely third week, to try and gain time and get back into that top 10. And just that effect of people trying to jump over each other is going to cause people who don't attack, for example, likely the INEOS guys. I don't see them going in breakaway, and every rider that jumps over them in GC is going to be tough to jump over again in the third week, because if you're sitting in 9th and 8th on like 5 minutes at the end of week 2, then it's going to be real troublesome to keep that position to people who are going to likely take stages, because I don't know if Jumbo is going to hunt for too many mountain stages.
GC Koos is back and alive and well. Koos is like on for a top 5 GC here. He's been riding pretty much his own race the entire time. And yeah, he's, I think, 4 seconds ahead of Yates, and he's 11 seconds behind Bernal. He's looking much, much better than Bernal. So yeah,
if one thing goes wrong for Roglič, he's thrown under the bus for him. So always got to keep that in mind for Koos.
True. And he was having to pace on the front today. I don't know. I think he's definitely more than I've seen before riding his own race. But yeah, I think Jumbo had a bit of a wake-up today. Bit of a scare. I hope Roglič is okay, injury and physically wise. Mentally, I don't know. He seemed he gave an interview afterwards where he said, no risk, no glory. It was good, which is... I guess
questionable choice of words today. One more question. If Jack Haig podiums this Vuelta. Do we get another Quokka roar?
Nah, Quokka's for the Perth people, mate. He's not from Perth. This is racism against Australians.
What animals live in
Benji
that other place then?
I have to think. He's kind of tall, probably a kangaroo. He's like a fighting kangaroo. I'd say he's a red
What
kangaroo.
noises do kangaroos make?
I'm not doing it on air. I'll look it up. I'll do it on air if he comes on podium. I'll do a red kangaroo sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
All right, that's our recap for today's stage one. We thought it was going to be boring, and it was spiced up. Let us know down below or on Twitter at Lanterne Rouge CP. What did you think of the Roglič move? Do you think why not that, or do you think not the best idea? Even hindsight is 2020, I guess. So call us out if you think we're just talking in hindsight 2020. I don't think we are. And give the video a like down below if you're watching on YouTube, a review on podcast players, and we'll see you with the Stage 10 recap tomorrow. Benji will have some sort of weird sound prepped for Aaron Baru when he wins. Ciao.